What's going on, everybody? As you can see, I got all the sand out of the tank except for a few small pieces here and there, and I saved you from that portion because it's really boring to watch somebody scoop sand out of a tank. So yeah. However, there are still some pieces of sand scattered throughout the tank, and how I like to get those out is with a vacuum, and I use the brush tip because it is virtually impossible to scratch your glass with sand using a brush because it won't be able to sandwich the sand between the glass to scratch it in the first place. So I recommend using these whenever you're getting sand out of a tank. And I also recommend any kind of brush when you're using, when you're trying to clean the sand from the, just stir it up or clean the sides from algae or something like that, because a brush won't scratch your glass. So little tip there. Anyways, yeah, so just plug this baby on the end, get to vacuuming. It's as easy as that. Alright guys, so now that we have the tank nice and clean, I'll probably clean the glass just a little bit just so I can see inside a little bit easier, but I've already showed you how to reseal a tank before in previous videos, so if you would like to check that out, I'll put a link in the description below. So I'm not going to go too in-depth on how to cut the silicone off, how to prep the surface, how to apply silicone taping, blah blah blah. But at this point, it's time to cut the old silicone off, get all that crap out of there. And speaking of that, I was messing with the silicone earlier just to see how pliable it was, and some of the stuff towards the bottom of the tank was nice and pliable, although the edges were peeling up, which is a concern. But the upper portion of the silicone, as far as the seal goes, was kind of had a crackly texture on it, and I don't know if that's just hard water stains or what. And that could definitely be a cause for some of the leak, but I'm going to show you right now. There's basically what looks like Euro bracing around the inside of the bottom of the tank. There's actually it's almost like a double pane type deal. I'll show you in a second. But I can see where water has gotten underneath that, and I can see where the edges of the silicone have actually started to peel away from the pieces of glass. And that's probably due to age. I had the tank outside for a little bit, so sun kind of wreaks havoc on things like that. And it's just something that I didn't catch when I set it up, and it's totally my fault that this tank leaked. I should have resealed it before I ever set it up. So just honest mistakes lead to horrendous problems. So that's that. So I guess when you're setting up a big ass tank like this one, it's going to be a good idea to really inspect your silicone before you set it up, or just not even take any chances and reseal it yourself if you are capable of doing so. So yeah, let's take a look, and I'll show you what I mean about the silicone peeling back and why I think that led to the tank leaking in the first place. So here we go.
Okay, so this is what I'm talking about. Sorry about the echo, I'm kind of like inside the tank. But you can see where sand has actually been pushed underneath the silicone right there. And you can also see there's moisture under this bottom pane of glass. And I think just water over time, just from the pressure and the old silicone, you can see the edges peeled up too. It just forced water underneath there because the silicone wasn't adhered to the glass as well as it should have been due to age. And I think that's where our problem's at. And with this dual pane that goes, as you can see, that goes all the way around the back, all the way around. It's going to be a real pain in the butt to reseal this tank because it's got twice the silicone up under the bottom, and it's going to take a lot of silicone because this glass is really thick. So it's going to be really fun, but I think that's why it leaked. I think it just, the silicone gave under the bottom, and water just snuck under over time, and you can see the condensation under there just kind of just hanging out still. So yeah, so that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So we're going to cut all this old silicone off and make some headway on this thing today.
Oh, one more thing. If your tank's big enough, you can just crawl right inside and get to work. It's a lot easier that way. Okay, so I got all the silicone scraped off, and that did not take as long as I thought it would by any means. And, you know, I feel like I've done 4 or 5 of these tanks, not this size, but it took me like 4 hours to get all the silicone off, but hey, whatever. So I guess it's just around the bottom and then up the 2 sides, and that's it. So no big deal. The silicone was old. It came off really easy, which is another sign that it was definitely overdue for a reseal by a long shot. I think this tank's probably about 15 years old if I had to guess. The company that it's made by, Cyber Aqua, as far as I can tell, doesn't make tanks anymore. So yeah, so this baby's old. She's due. And so now we're going to get some acetone, and we're going to clean up the edges real nice so that the silicone will bond to the glass really well. That's what you're looking for. And another thing too, do not ever try to put new silicone over the top of old silicone. New silicone does not bond to old silicone, at least not very well anyways. Nothing that you can rely on and nothing that's going to be safe and leak proof. So you got to get every bit of that off. And you know, when you're resealing a tank, there's silicone between the panes of glass where they butt together, and that's what you do not want to cut off. So like I said, the new silicone's not going to bond to that, but the tank will still be strong because of that old existing silicone, and then the new silicone will just be the seal to keep water from escaping. So that's what we're doing in this video. So I'm going to show you the amount of silicone I got off this tank, how big the beads are, just to give you an indication of how much silicone you might need for a tank this size. Yeah, so I'll show you guys right now. Alright, so this is all of the silicone that I cut out of the tank. It's actually not that much. I thought it was going to be much more with the dual pane thing, or the Euro bottom bracing, or whatever you would like to call that, but it's actually not too bad. So yeah, that was good. So, can't reach. Alright, and this stuff, this is how thick that bead of silicone is for this tank. It's about a 1/2 inch by a 1/2 inch by a 1/2 inch triangle, something like that. It's pretty good size stuff. So you know, make sure you get enough silicone. That's all I gotta say, because the last thing you want to do is start putting silicone into your tank and realize that you don't have enough, because then you're gonna be screwed and have to do it all over again. So don't do that. Alright, so it's kind of hard to see, but I've gotten all the silicone out of every single one of these little cracks, this double pane Euro bracing deal, which actually wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. But yeah, so at this point, since I've got this all vacuumed out and all clean, we're ready to apply acetone for the prepping of the surface. That way it's real nice and clean, and you know, the silicone will adhere to the glass very well this way. And after that, then it's time to tape this baby off and start siliconing. So we're almost there, no big deal, just got to keep going.